We've got huge news coming out of Romania today. Pro-European Union centrist candidate Nicu Șordan has defeated far-right Trump fan George Simion in the Romanian presidential runoff election. This is a massive rejection of Trump-style nationalism in a country that was supposedly trending hard to the right. According to exit polls, Dan secured about 54 to 55% of the vote, completely upending all of the predictions from just a few weeks back. This was also after far-right Simion had dominated the first round with 41% compared to Dan's 21%. The polls have shown Simion ahead for weeks until the very end when Dan mounted a comeback in what was supposed to be a stronghold for Trump-style nationalism. And let me underscore just how significant this reversal is. Simion was literally running around calling himself a MAGA president and pledging to make Romania a strong ally of the United States. He even told reporters that we are a Trumpist party which will govern Romania. Simion followed the Trump playbook to a T. He was running on a platform of ending military aid to Ukraine and criticized the European Union's leadership. He promoted conspiracy theories, stoked fear about immigrants, and claimed that he would restore democracy, all while planning to appoint an ultranationalist as prime minister. Sound familiar? It is the same fake populist playbook that Donald Trump has used over and over again. Promised the world to regular people while actually delivering on policies that only help the wealthy and well-connected. But the story here isn't just about Simion's defeat, it is about who defeated him. Nicu Șordan is the current mayor of Bucharest. He was a mathematician and a former anti-corruption activist. He ran on a platform of strengthening Romania's ties with the European Union and NATO, supporting Ukraine against Russian aggression, and implementing real economic reforms that would benefit all Romanians, not just the wealthy few. In other words, Dan didn't try to just out-Trump Trump's ally. He offered a genuine alternative based on competence, integrity, and international cooperation. And that message clearly resonated with Romanian voters, even after they had seemed to embrace Simion's nationalist rhetoric just a few weeks earlier. And certainly after seeing the ways in which Trump's governance here in the US has led to disastrous consequences. And this would be noteworthy on its own, but it's part of a much broader global pattern that we're seeing of Trump allies internationally getting defeated when they align themselves with his failed policies or even just his image. Just 2 weeks ago, we saw Prime Minister Anthony Albanese win in a landslide re-election in Australia, massively increasing his majority in parliament after trailing in the polls for months. What changed? Trump's tariffs. When Trump announced his tariffs targeting Australian exports, which is a country that is supposedly an ally of the United States, the Australian people realized exactly what Trump's America First really meant. It meant America screwing over its closest allies and friends. And they punished the conservative opposition leader, Peter Dutton, for his embrace of MAGA-style policies. And when I say embrace, I mean it. According to The Guardian, months before the campaign officially kicked off, Dutton had announced a government efficiency unit to scale back waste, mirroring the Elon Musk-led so-called Department of Government Efficiency in the US. The opposition's Indigenous Affairs spokesperson, Jacinta Price, who used Trump's slogan during the campaign, accused the media of slinging mud and smearing the party for making links to the US president. Quote, Donald Trump doesn't own those 4 words, the senator said on ABC, referring to the Make Australia Great Again slogan she used. So, if the goal is to create some space between you and the guy who acts as a lead anchor around every politician's neck in the world, perhaps Make Australia Great Again isn't the best slogan. Perhaps making an Australian Doge isn't going to help things along. In terms of why the Liberal National Party lost, I don't think we have to look too far as they sit there in their MAGA hats and orange face toner. In fact, that's a point that Anthony Albanese made here.
We do not need to beg or borrow or copy from anywhere else. We do not seek our inspiration overseas. We find it right here, in our values and in our people.
And Australia came right on the heels of Canada's election, where Mark Carney and the Liberals staged a shock upset of Trump-aligned conservative Pierre Poilievre, despite trailing in polls for most of the year. Why? Because Trump's tariffs and his insane comments about making Canada the 51st state showed Canadians exactly what electing a Trump ally would mean for their country. Canada's voting intention showed that for years, the Conservative Party, the blue line, had a strong edge over the Liberal Party. By the beginning of 2025, it looked like a foregone conclusion that the Liberal Party would lose the upcoming election. And then Trump decided to launch his trade war and threaten to annex Canada as the 51st state, and suddenly, the party that seems more closely aligned with Trump's Republican Party gets utterly gutted in the polls. Let's not pretend that that's just some coincidence. Here's what Mark Carney said after his recent election victory in his own country.
Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The system of open global trade, anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over. These are tragedies, but it's also our new reality. We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons.
But you're going to take us forward.
We have to look out for ourselves. And above all, we have to take care of each other. When I sit down with President Trump, it will be to discuss the future economic and security relationship between two sovereign nations. And it will be with our full knowledge that we have many, many other options than the United States to build prosperity for all Canadians.
Of course, now conservatives in Romania, Canada, and Australia can join the American conservatives who have sat idly by as Trump unilaterally destroyed their election prospects. Because here in the United States, since Trump took office, where he demanded total fealty from his party and then went on to tank the stock market, the economy, 401ks, consumer confidence, surge costs, now the rest of his own party here in the US is forced to bear the political burden of that. And the electoral consequences have been beyond apparent. Just a few weeks back, the two Republican candidates in Florida's special election underperformed by 16 points and 22 points from the 2024 election. In Wisconsin, liberal Supreme Court Justice nominee Susan Crawford overperformed the 2024 presidential election contest by 11 points en route to her victory in that race. In Pennsylvania, Democrats overperformed by 15 points and 17 points in two state legislative seats en route to victories there, one of which solidified Democratic control of the Pennsylvania State House, and the other of which flipped a seat from red to blue. Across the U.S., of the 12.5 races held since Election Day, Democrats are seeing more than an 11-point swing to the left, with multiple races seeing Democrats flip seats formerly held by Republicans. In other words, we are seeing both domestic and international backlash to Trump's erratic style of governance. The Romanian election results are just the latest evidence that Trump's brand of politics is not just failing in America, it is being rejected around the world. The initial rush of far-right enthusiasm is giving way to the cold reality of what these policies actually mean for regular people. Trump's tariffs aren't making America great, they are making everything more expensive for American consumers. His attacks on our allies aren't strengthening America's position, they are isolating us on the world stage from all of our allies and friends. His coddling of dictators isn't bringing peace, it is emboldening the world's worst actors. And voters around the world are beginning to see through this MAGA facade in Canada, in Australia, and now in Romania, where they are rejecting leaders who align themselves with Donald Trump's failed agenda. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.